Hello, my name is Dina Dabaghie and I am a PhD student and a researcher at Karolinska Institute. Today we're going to talk about research methodology or forskningsmetodik. Probably you have heard the word research around you in your daily life quite a lot, whether it was on the news or you have read it on a newspaper, maybe someone in the family was discussing some research that they have read about, or maybe you have learned it at school. So today we're going to tackle what is research and what is the research method, or how do we build up a research. So first we will start with the definition. What is research? Research is an organized and systematic method of finding answers to questions. So it's systematic because the process is broken up into clear steps and pieces. It's organized because it's very well planned and structured method. And in all of the cases, it is very important that we want to reach an answer or a conclusion. It can be the answer that we were looking for, or it can be the complete opposite, but still it's an answer, and that is the most important part. So if you look into the textbooks, or you look into some real scientific paper and search what is research methodology, you will get this fancy chart. You define the problem, you specify the research question or hypothesis, design the research that you're doing, select the units of study, collect the data, analyze the data, and then make a conclusion, and you report it. But together, we are going to run through an example, and a really fun one. So, in this case, we are deciding what is our subject of interest. It can be anything you're interested in. Video games, chocolate, nature, climate change, cars, anything. In my case, I chose cats. I think everyone knows cats, and a lot of people love them, including me. I'm a big fan of cats, and I think they are really interesting. And during the time, there was always a debate. What is better, cats or dogs? Who are better? And there was a lot of questioning and answering that was going on in that direction. So a lot of people were saying cats are actually really mean, and that is why they don't like them. But is that the case? So I narrowed it down. I really like the subject of cats, but I narrowed it down into what am I interested actually in learning about them, which comes to the next stage, a hypothesis or a question that we're interested in. I wrote the hypothesis, cats are not mean. And now we're going to think about a study that we can do together to determine whether cats are mean or not. So now we come to the very important part. We are designing the study. We need to think about quite a lot of things. So think about it. What kind of questions do you think are really important when you're designing the study? Think. How many, for example, cats? For how long are you studying them? In what kind of an environment? And so on. So if we start with the question, how many cats do we want? Is one enough? Is 1 million enough? You need to decide on a number. So let's say we started with 100 cats that we want to study together. Then comes the question, how are we going to study them? Are you just going to put them all together and then wait what will happen? Are you going to study them inside or outside? At day or at night? With people or without people? A lot of things to think about. So let's say we decide on the different environments. I want to see whether cats are different during the day and during the night. Are they different when they are inside the house or maybe outside of the house? Are they different if there are people around or if there are other cats around or not? Then comes the question, for how long? Is it enough 1 day, 1 year, 10 years? We decided, let's say, on 1 month. So that is another parameter that we thought about. And then comes the question on how are we going to assess them? What will determine whether a cat is good or bad or mean? Is there any way that you're going to decide? Is it just you that are sitting there and thinking like, yeah, I think that cat is good, or no, I think that cat is mean? You need to determine a way to assess your results. So we developed a scale. Let's say we said 10 is good, 1 is mean, and we write description to each of the scales. So let's say if a cat is sitting around and not doing anything, it is considered being as 8, sort of good. And if it's running around and playing, it is good. It's a 10. But if it's throwing things out of the table, then we might consider that, yeah, it's mean, so we will put it as a 1. So you need to decide on how are you going to assess it. Put a clear scaling, and then put a description on the scaling. So now we have the study designed. We thought about how many, how long, how are we going to assess them, and all of these details. Then comes the fun part. We are actually collecting the data. We got all of our interesting cats from their owners. We started to study them during the day and during the night, inside the house, outside of the house, and in all of the different environments. We are observing, we are scoring, and we are recording. And it is very, very important to record, and record as soon as possible. You might think like, oh, I'm gonna remember this tomorrow or the day after or in a week. Trust me, you won't. So always record in time. So now we have collected all this fancy data. We have all of these numbers and descriptions that we have. We need to analyze them, analyze all of the numbers and the scales that we have, and we come up with a conclusion. The conclusion can be really simple, like one word. Cats are mean, cats are not mean. But usually the conclusion also have a little bit of an explanation. So let's say in our study, we found out that cats have different personalities. They know what they want, and they know when they want it, and they expect it to happen. They also don't like to be bothered. We cannot say that they are mean, but they like to be in a specific environment, and they behave accordingly. So this is our conclusion in our study. Then comes the next part, which is the actual reporting. When you're doing a research, usually you end up with publishing in a scientific journal, a scientific paper. It could be something like this: Are cats good? A really important study. So then, if we look at what we have started with, this chart, we have covered all of it. We defined our problem, which was, are cats good? Are cats mean or good? Then we specified our hypothesis that we think cats are not mean. We designed our research. We thought about how, when, how long, and all of these things. Then we selected our units of study, the household cats, and then we collected the data, we analyzed the data, and we came to a conclusion. And in the end, we wrote a report. This is a whole research process that we have now designed together. A couple of things that are really important to mention and to think about. When you're doing research, it's very, very important to communicate. You need to share your results with the world. Share it with the people around you. Whether it was a positive result or a negative result or a non-conclusive result, it is still a result. And you need to share it. Like we said, you might have shared it in a scientific paper, in a scientific report. But what other things you can share? Think. It could be just on social media, it could be just talking to your friends and family. And it can be also in a conference or talking to a journalist. But it's very important to spread the word. Because there are other people that are interested in the same thing that you are. And there are other people that might be inspired to do another study. Or maybe even inspired to start doing research on cats, for example. So it's very important to spread the word. Another thing to think about is always look at the bigger picture. Your question is usually quite small when you're doing research, and it's a part of a very, very big puzzle. So think about it. Now we have answered only one specific question. Are cats mean? But there are a lot of other different behaviors from the cats. There are a lot of different cats. There are other pets that we can think about. Cats, dogs, hamsters, or etc. So always look at the bigger picture. And last but not least, be aware of the bias. When I started the presentation, I said I chose cats because I really, really love them. So I can be biased regarding the different results that I am seeing. If I wouldn't have specified the scaling, I can always say like, oh, that cat just threw the vase out of the table. She's playing, she's nice. So in my opinion, I can always think that whatever cats are doing, it's nice. So it's always important to be aware that you can be biased, the other researchers can be biased. So it's very important to design the study at the beginning to avoid any kind of biases. And that's basically it. You conducted your research. You have shared your results. Now be ready to receive your Nobel Prize. Welcome to the research world. You are now a fellow researcher, and I hope I will see you at the Nobel ceremony. Thank you.